If you could sell your soul to the devil for one thing, what would it be?
A cat.
Movies.
Peppermint chocolates.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
What?
Why do you need to sign your soul to the devil for peppermint chocolates? You could.
For movies? Like to
Yeah.
be in movies or for
It's open ended.
like a DVD? Like
Yo,
you
I
want
can be in the movies. I can get all the movies I want.
That's
No
not
one
what you were thinking.
no
Shami.
Netflix subscription.
How come all your answers are like
No, it's never like
Well,
that. I
it
never
depends-
answer like
it
that.
depends on the
I
technical
never
No,
answer.
answer
Shami,
like
or
that.
you do. You always
No,
have it
I
open-ended.
have
It's never
a
like- it's never like,
explicit-
yo,
You
this.
do that. I do it explicitly. I say like, okay, this is why.
you're like, well,
I ask
according
you.
to this.
No, I
according to-
ask you. I never say that it's mine or
keep
open ended,
going,
but I ask
like
you.
you OD on the question.
No, I don't. Because I want to know the clarity.
All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of Strange Flavors. This is brought to you by Alif Theory. My name is Faras.
My name is Jeff, aka Shimmer.
My name is Amber.
If you don't know by now, we are on YouTube, we are on Apple Podcasts, we
Gang,
are on
gang.
SoundCloud,
Gang,
and we
gang.
have reached past our goal of 100 subscribers on all those things. So,
We're at 200 on
Thank
YouTube,
you.
right?
Yeah, we passed 200 on YouTube.
Yo.
well, we passed 100 on there a long time ago, but recently we got SoundCloud, so that's pretty dope.
Y'all.
And that's a
Nice.
very low number, but it's
We're
a
working
good,
up.
Across
Wait.
all platforms, I think it's pretty okay.
yeah.
Wait, what are they called? Strangers, right? Good job, strangers.
Good job. We don't know you.
Wait, I want a
you're
better name for
strangers.
them than strangers.
No, that's what else would they be?
Yeah.
Like,
Flavors?
What
yeah.
a flavor.
Cones?
Yeah, everybody.
What's up, cones?
Yeah, because
Ice cream
everybody
cones?
Nobody
has
wants
a
to be a
flavor.
cone.
Everybody can be the
Strangers.
flavor.
They're strangers.
No.
Everybody that comes onto our show
Everybody
is a
who
stranger.
listens to our show is a friend.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're
They're my
strangers. They're
friends.
not.
If
Another
you're
week,
listening,
another
you're my friend.
little less stranger.
All right, guys. If you want to see us perform in front of all of our friends, we're going to be
They're my
coming
friends.
to University of Maryland College Park on April 13th. That's coming right up. And on April 19th, we'll be at UMBC. So if you're in the area, I think that UMBC show is actually sold out, but UMD might have a few tickets left. So cop them quick, come out, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh snap! You guys have been having like shows on shows.
Facts.
Didn't you guys just come back from
April
Illinois?
is
Illinois.
tour season.
Tour season.
Yeah,
So-
we recently came back from Illinois.
Yeah.
That was
Talk about it. You guys flew out there, right?
insanity. We got flown out
We got
to do
flown out.
Oh snap! Oh snap! Y'all making it big
to
out
do a
here?
show.
We had
Interaction?
Frost had like 0 hours of sleep or like 1 hour of sleep, couple hours of sleep. But like
One.
I had like 5 hours of broken sleep. And that was, I think, good enough for me. But you were pretty,
Well, it was only because usually I'm okay with that, but
yeah.
the few days leading up to that, I was like working and stuff like that, so I hadn't slept at all. And then our flight was like, we were practicing late at night, and we had some late night meals.
And then we had, our flight was at like 6 in the morning. But like the whole day I was kind of in this like surreal, like, you know how when you don't get that like perfect amount of sleep, you're kind of like dazed
daze,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. But it was like a good daze. And so we're just like in this new area, meeting all these new people, and they're
Right.
all like awesome. And they all like watched our stuff too. And so we're like getting ready to perform and everything. And then we actually perform, and it was just like so crazy because everyone was there to like see us, and like they were taking pictures with us, and it was just like crazy that like a lot of people there like watched our videos and stuff.
They were like
Yeah.
OD treating us
Yeah.
nice. Like there was
Aw.
when we were in, so they sent us in like at the back of the stage, and then there was like people coming to the backstage, and they were like, "Hey, are you guys performing today? Like, can we grab pictures and stuff?" And that was like insane. And then when we went up, they were like singing the lyrics. Like
Yeah.
No
everybody was
way.
like, "I don't drink that. I drink mango juice." And then they were all like, a huge crowd of people were like, "Packy gang, Packy gang." Like, so they were going off. And then
Yeah.
they like, after it was over, like the whole event was like a fashion show thing. And like they were like moving people out of the way.
Yeah,
and they
they
had like
saved
seats
two
for us all
seats,
the way in the front.
And they had like red X's over them, and they kick people off anytime someone would try to sit on there. And we felt so bad. We are like, and it was like right in the front, and
VIP out
they're
here.
treating us like royalty.
Yeah.
And
Like,
they were so nice.
Honestly, I'm never gonna try to pretend like I'm some fancy dude. This is like, this type of like thing is a dream. Even
Yeah.
at this level,
For real.
like we're nowhere, but like this honestly
It
is
like
is a
validates.
real dream. Like
Yeah.
getting flown out
out.
for a show, we're performing there, like people like know our stuff. They want us to be there. It's not that like we asked them or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the people we were staying with were really, really
They
awesome
were-
too.
Okay, I think that like tied a bow on like the whole like
Okay.
because they treated us so like they're brothers. Like
Yeah.
literally we were only there for like 32 hours, 36 hours, and we felt like we were part of their like family. And they're-
Them two were brothers. The people.
No,
you
no,
stayed
no,
with?
No, no,
There
it was like roommates of like
Okay.
roommates.
like 4 guys.
Yeah, 4 guys.
But
And-
they were just like our squad, like
Yeah.
the manners and like you know
they were
the
so
vibes.
funny and like
goofiness.
they were just so chill, and we
savageness.
connected so well, and they were just like
Aw.
taking us around everywhere, and they were like they didn't let us pay anywhere, and they were just like, no, we got you.
And it was just like, you know, the last time we went to Chicago, it was cool and everything, but when we went to Texas,
Yeah,
our memories were so good there because we met certain people,
and hung out with them and
hung out with them.
chilled.
And the last time we went to Chicago, like we met like fans and stuff, but it wasn't the same. We didn't
Yeah.
stay with
We
people.
didn't stay with people. We were just like moving around in the super cold.
Yeah, and it was freezing. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
But this time, like, just it's the connections you make with people. Like,
Connections, yeah.
that's what you remember the most about any trip. Is like the people you were with and stuff,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's what's beautiful.
Nice.
So this whole thing, it's been a dream. It's been fantastic, and like honestly, this is such a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Honestly, bro, like this is
It's
so
crazy.
so crazy.
Like I would have never thought like we'd be doing this actually. Like, you know?
Listen,
Like-
thank you to everybody who has supported us and our movement of Alif Theory, listening to Strange Flavors, supporting Ronald Pono, all that kind of stuff. Like that seriously means the world, and like it's because of you guys that we're able to do what we love. And I hope that this is just like inspiration. Like I hope
Yeah.
that you can look at what we're doing and not be like, oh yeah, like, you know, they're doing these things because this and that. Like this is honestly like unbelievable for us. I hope you know that. And like it's not possible unless you put in that hard work and you have people supporting you. And we're just very thankful for the people in our lives and the opportunities that we're given.
But
And
you
I'll
guys
take
did
my
deserve
Oscar award now.
this.
Could you grab that award over there?
Yeah, I got you.
Just bring it over here. And Shamir, start playing the violin slowly. Like my time is running up. Hold on. I got something to say. No, keep doing the music. Thank you. Love you. I will always kiss you. I will always be here for you. And the violin guy is dying. I want to thank the violin guy. He is so bad, but he made it to the Oscars because he dreamed of this one day.
We made it.
Okay, no, but for
We made it.
you guys like deserve something like this because you guys have been putting in like hard work. For
What do you mean
over a
you
year.
guys? Amber, it's all of us.
I know, but I'm just saying like you guys have been doing the music thing, and I think that like it's good to see like
Amber,
rewards from things
It's
you do.
okay to get jealous.
What?
Amber, I will share this award with you. Okay, I would like to make another speech for Amber.
Okay.
Amber has been a key component in this, and she could not win this award tonight, so she dressed up like it. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, that ends my speech.
Thank the Lord.
While we were out winning awards and flying on planes, what were you doing?
I was editing away a video of you. So while Shamir was gone and what are you drinking? Okay. So while Shamir was in Pakistan, I took it as an opportunity that, you know, April Fool's was coming up. So I pranked Faras, and I basically told him that I was leaving the team. I was leaving the squad. That was my last podcast. And he was fairly composed, but like the reaction after was like amazing. So you guys should go check
So
that
first
out.
of all, this was the worst prank
It was the best prank.
I've ever seen on YouTube.
Ouch.
Let alone be a part of it. Okay? You did not even prank me.
Yes, I did.
Amber, you had like a real discussion with me.
Uh-huh.
And I was sitting there like really dealing with it.
Right.
I wasn't like, oh no, this happened. I was like, yo, like something's happening.
You may
right
not
now.
have been doing that, but on the inside, you were feeling it.
And then
Because
afterwards, I like blew. Amber, is this appropriate? Is this appropriate to be getting calls during the podcast?
It's on the computer. Mine's silent. I'm on airplane mode.
She's all for us. He freaks out.
I was like, am I getting pranked again?
Let me.
Oh my god.
I'm on airplane mode. That
And
was my computer.
I don't know why it's so funny. Why is it so funny? Oh.
But yeah, I pranked
So this-
you, and it was
So
cool.
this terrible prank. Okay, here's the problem with it. The prank.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I want you to explain, but first I want to ask somebody who just only watched the prank.
You should have pranked him.
Yeah.
No.
Shamir, I feel like that's too mean. You are mean to
Too
me.
mean?
Yeah, you're
It's the
mean
same
to
prank.
me, but Shamir is nice to me, so I can't be that mean to him.
Yeah, I would have cried.
You know what happened actually?
What?
When you were saying that stuff, like my like what is it called? Like fight or flight?
Yeah, sure. Adrenaline.
Wait.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but this is what happens to me when
You're
like
very reactionary. Like
when something bad happens, right? Or a disaster happens, right? My initial reaction is always just to figure it out.
Right.
I don't ever care about like, you know,
The little thing.
the emotions.
Okay.
I always care about just like, okay, this is what's happening. All right, here's how we figure it out. Or like, okay, in my head, this is why like afterwards I was like blown up. This in my head, I'm already like turning screws. I'm like, okay, so she's not gonna be in the podcast anymore. This is what we're gonna do, and like, this is what we're gonna do with like videos. Here's how we're gonna do with like this and that. So I'm already like figuring stuff out, right?
Right.
So when then I find out it's not real, it's like, bro, like I had already figured it out. So
Wow.
like there's already like a plan.
You already made a plan to replace me.
No, not to replace you.
Wait, hold on. So you said the prank wasn't good, but then you just told me how your flight or fight reaction went in, and that only happens when something bad or a disaster happens. So me leaving would have been a disaster, right?
Listen, Amber, why are you making this about yourself?
Because it's just fun.
It's just like that. It was almost like a disappointment.
A disappointment.
No, it's weird.
Okay.
Because it's like I'm already like in that mode, you know? It's okay. So imagine like
He's like,
on
you
a-
should have just actually left.
No, imagine on a grand scale, right? Somebody dies,
Okay.
I was
Right?
just thinking that. Yeah.
and then you are
Start
figuring
crying,
it out,
yeah.
and you're not the type of person to like cry or do this kind of stuff, right? You're figuring out like how you live on your own. For example, you do this and that. You've got everything set. You figuring it out. Then you find out like, oh,
The person's alive.
they're alive.
Yeah.
Then it's like, it's not like a disappointment. Like you're happy that they're alive again, but you're like, God, like I already.
You stressed out all about that. Like,
You stressed out, but you also like had like made this plan that's gonna work.
yeah.
Wow.
So what I'm trying to say is like, just leave. No, I'm just kidding. No, the video was good. The video was edited good.
Thanks.
That's what I'll say about it,
Speaking of videos and stuff, did you guys see the video with the Walmart yodeling kid?
dude. That kid is a like absolute legend.
Yo, like, it's just so funny.
Do you guys like the remix version of it?
Yeah, the remix is like I
Amazing.
bumped that. Like, what's funny about this whole thing is like, the internet is like undefeated. You know, like this kid is singing in a Walmart,
Yeah.
and he's got like
Yodeling.
hundreds and thousands of followers now. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's making like
Justin
He has
Bieber's
social
reposting
media?
him.
yeah, he has social media. He was on social media
Oh.
like, hey guys, this is my real account.
I can't wait
I'm
till he's
gonna
on
be making
Ellen.
He's gonna be on Ellen. He's gonna
Oh snap!
he's gonna go on tour. He's gonna have his
What is
own
he gonna
merch.
go
I don't know if
short
that's
for?
real, but that might happen. Like, actually, like he probably is gonna get a record deal or something like that.
He's gonna get merch. Like this is the age we live in now.
like Cash Me Outside.
Yeah,
Like
like
that.
literally,
Yeah.
like Cash Me Outside was a troublesome kid on the Dr. Phil show, and now she's
Now
She's
she
a
has a
millionaire.
rapper. She's
A
a
millionaire.
rap career. And she's getting a TV show apparently.
No way.
Yeah, it's just
Oh
insane.
my
It's-
gosh.
it's impossible to like go on the internet at that level
We just
and
need
not
to
get
go do
something out
viral
of it.
stuff. Let's just. I mean,
Let's
I
start
guess we are
yodeling.
Can you imagine like what
Shoot
companies
out
are
of the
doing?
box.
Like they're like going crazy in their marketing offices. Like, okay, what is he doing here? All right, yeah, that step right there.
Right there.
That's what made him go viral. that note he hit right there. Okay, that's good. But then you have like companies like Walmart. Like there was a video of him uploaded on WorldStar, and Walmart comments on it like lit or something. I'm like, Walmart. Stay out. Like, you're not cool. Like,
No.
you're not. Like, you
If that
didn't
happened
make
in my
this.
store, I'd be like so
Yo,
hyped.
you know what's funny?
Yeah,
When- I know we didn't plan this, but Wendy's actually dropped a mixtape.
Oh
like
my
2 weeks ago.
gosh.
What'd you think of it? Did you hear it?
I mean, it wasn't that great, but the fact
Yeah.
that they dropped it, that was so funny.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's too try hard.
No,
it definitely
I think
was.
cool.
I think Wendy's was cool when they were doing like the
Bashing.
roasting
Roasting?
on Twitter and all
Yeah.
that. But then when they took it to the, I'm like, all right, you're trying too hard now. Come
it's a
on.
great marketing.
Also,
technique.
like they're
It'd be
just
good for commercials.
it's like
if they're using
hip.
commercials.
It's like oh, like let's drop a mixtape. It's
Yeah,
fire.
it's just so
it's
funny.
beefy. I don't know.
No, and they were like trying hard. Like they
Mm-hmm.
were.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
It's so funny though. Like
I don't
they
know.
knew that it's this joke.
I think like a 16-year-old Amber would really appreciate it. Like on
yeah,
Twitter.
maybe
Listening
kids,
to a
maybe
Wendy's-
kids think it's funny. I don't know.
Wendy's
I'd be
mixtape.
like, yo, something to talk
That's
about.
no, that's
what if,
something
what
that
if they
not
dealt,
16, like,
dealt
maybe like
out the
12.
mixtapes in the kids' meals?
Oh,
no.
True. Aaron Carter used to do that in cereal, and I got that cereal.
Like
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it was a Nickelodeon like tape, and I
I
got
heard,
that.
wasn't he dating Hilary Duff and Lindsay Lohan at the same time?
I don't know. Amber, I didn't keep up with
I loved Lindsay. I
Teen-
loved Hilary Duff.
Teen TMZ over here.
Teen TMZ.
Okay, let's talk about the guest today. So before we introduce the guest, I wanna just sort of like address what this sort of episode encompasses, why she's on the show. So her name is Maryam Khwaja, and she is like this brilliant teenager who she's very active when it comes to social issues, and just it's so crazy because like at her age, like we didn't have that. Like nobody was really into it like she is, and that's the age that we are in right now. Like there are young kids who are very active, you know, in social media and politics and just global news in general, and it's crazy. But like we want to make sure that you like all of our listeners understand that like this platform that we have here, like this is so that we can listen to all types of voices, and why we have Maryam on the show is because like she is open to understanding and listening to opposing sides, you know. But it's important that she addresses what's going on at her age, because we haven't had that young
Right.
sort of guest yet.
Especially like in high school, with everything that's happening in high school, is all the
Yeah.
activism in high school. I think that
Right.
it's important to have somebody
That
from
perspective.
there.
Facts.
And actually, like for me personally, I mean, you guys know this, but where I work, like, and where I live, it's like a very conservative area. So my county is just like very conservative. There's like, you'll see Trump stuff everywhere and like Confederate flags and everything. And where I work, it's like people come in all the time with NRA shirts and Trump hats, and these are the people I interact with all the time, and I hear their perspective more than I hear anybody else's. So I definitely like have grown to understand where these people are coming from, because at the end of the day, they're all like very nice to me, and like we interact, and yeah, like they make comments and ask me like really bizarre questions that people might get really offended by, but at the end of the day, the goal is always to educate and understand each other. And if I can do that, then like we can accomplish a lot. But on a side note, I want to say something funny. Like one of the guys that came in today, like he had an NRA shirt on, and on the back of it, it was an American flag made out of bullets. And I think
Whoa,
that's like,
interesting.
and I think I would rock that shirt, because I feel like that's a really good depiction of the United States. It's like, it's funny because it's
Yeah.
like they're trying to represent the NRA, but it's so perfect because sometimes it feels like America is very like, you know, like war hungry, like bloodshedding sort of country.
Right.
And so that shirt makes sense to me. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It's almost like ironic that it's
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not wrong. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, that's true. So what Maryam is here to do today is, you know, tell us how she is able to listen to the other side, as well as like get her point across and where she's coming from, being a, actually growing up in the same, county as me, and dealing with those things with, and making friends with still those people that disagree with her. Everybody, please welcome Maryam. Just a little bit towards you, like the whole thing. Yeah, there we go.
I think everything that I watched was a few years ago, and I don't even think you'd be into that.
What do you mean a few years? She's not like 2 years
No,
old.
she's not into Gossip Girl. She probably won't be into 90210.
No, I don't watch
Yeah,
that.
see, she's not.
I
gonna
watch
be
Grey's
into those.
Anatomy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's
Is that
still
the,
happening.
that's the doctor show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you watch any like old shows? Do you think that like Friends or anything?
watch Friends.
You watch Friends?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I do.
Wait. Oh,
Yeah.
this is important. Okay. Like when you watch Friends, like do you watch it often enough that you know like the characters? and
Yeah.
everything? Okay. So like when you watch it, you know how like there's always this thing about, you know, the Friends characters. They like hint like at Chandler being gay or like there's like homophobia and things like
Yeah.
that. And do you think that that's like? Are you ever like how do they get away with this? Or what are your thoughts?
Right. So if I watch it now,
Yeah.
it's like, it's kind of not offensive to me, but there are some words that they say that obviously if it was on TV now, it wouldn't
Yeah.
be okay. But I think for the time, that show was really progressive. So compared to the shows that were going on during that time, I guess it wasn't as bad as it, people think of it as today. So
Okay, so like when you're watching it, you're understanding that like the time that it's being made.
right.
Because there was like an article that came out, or maybe it was like a Twitter moment that was like,
Both.
what's your generation called?
Generation Z.
Z. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't even know what
That's
the different
crazy.
ones
Wait, why is
What?
it Z?
are.
Like, how did we get from millennials to Z or baby boomer? Wait,
No, millennials are what?
us.
Like
Us-ish.
okay. No, we're not
the
millennials.
end.
We are millennials.
Yeah, we are.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I forgot what the
It
time-
goes up
it's
to like the 30s.
88 to was it 2002
Yeah.
or something?
But they don't
Okay.
want to associate with us anyway.
Who doesn't?
The millennials, like they don't want to associate with like the
But I
young,
thought we are
early
now.
20s. We are, but they're a different kind. They're like the older kind. They're like in their
Okay.
30s and they
Oh, so
have
they're-
like a
so they're like-
they
they're
grew
like-
up during the 90s. We were babies during the 90s,
Yeah.
you know?
They're like saying that we like are a disrespect to their
Yeah.
Basically, kind of.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Wait, so all right, so there was like this article or Twitter movement or whatever that was saying like whatever generation, insert generation here, are finding Friends offensive. That's why I was asking. That.
Right.
I was like, how are you? Like, I didn't see that before, but now that we watch it back, I was like, oh, I see it now. But it's just funny. Let's get into it. So I'm just gonna ask you from the beginning. Like, so there was that huge protest that happened recently, March for Our Lives. Did you
Okay.
participate in that?
Yeah, I did. The
Okay,
one
so
in
like,
DC.
so what was that like?
So I had kind of been involved in the movement for a while, been aware of the movement, mainly after the Parkland shooting, when a lot of the students were on social media and they were really big in like news and media and stuff like that. So before the protest, they scheduled a walkout, and what happened was you were supposed to be in your school, and then at 10 o'clock you would walk out. And it was supposed to be a silent thing for 17 minutes just to honor the 17
Like high
victims.
schoolers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
then
your
you would
teachers
walk back
understood
in.
this and stuff.
Well, that was kind of
The point.
the problem with
Okay.
it, because there were a lot of schools that were okay with it, but particularly my school and my county, Hartford County, they were saying that they would punish children who were doing it.
Oh,
and
wow.
they're, yeah.
Like,
They
like
sent
in
out-
what way? Like, what?
They
what were
sent out a
saying?
letter, and they were like, students who walk out, it might be a safety issue, so they could have disciplinary action.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
And did people
Yeah.
do it anyways?
People did do it anyways. I think there were about 100 students at my school who walked out,
Okay.
but of course there were a lot of people who didn't because they were afraid that they would get in trouble for it. So
Yeah. You've been to other rallies as well. What were some of those?
I attended the Women's March, and there was a protest in Baltimore Washington International Airport for the Muslim ban, and I attended a Black Lives Matter protest in DC.
Yeah. So, I recommended Maryam on the show because she's like, how old are you?
16.
16, and she's like already like conscious of all this stuff going on. I think when I was 16, I was like,
Yeah, I didn't
on
even know what
Modern Warfare
politics
2,
was.
and I was like, this is life.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing beyond Modern Warfare 2. But here she is like doing all this. And this was the first guest that I
Do you-
had to drive
How
over.
old? Did we say how old she is?
Yeah,
16.
Okay, true.
What are you on your phone? Like,
No, I was writing a question I was going to have for her later.
Excuse me.
It was a question for her.
Do you have like a group of friends that are also similar to like you? involved in
I
these?
do, and I think a lot of like my views have come from social media and knowing people that aren't from where I am, knowing people who are from, I I guess, more liberal areas, because a lot of my school is very conservative, and I grew up having friends that didn't exactly have the same views as me, and even family members that didn't have the same views as me. But as I got older, I kind of found that group of friends that shared the same ideas and was into the same movements.
See, that's so interesting that you say that, because Maryam and I are from the same city, same county, and I would have never said something like, you know, most people in my school are conservative. I would have never known that. But because of social media and all this stuff now, like, I think that children have a more political viewpoint. And so what do you think of that? Do you think that it's good, or do you think that, like, you know, they should let the adults handle that? Does it become distracting in school? Are people taking sides? Like,
I think it definitely creates barriers between people, because people obviously have very strong opinions and they're beginning to voice them a little bit more now. But I think that's important, because people need to be aware that other people have opinions that may be different from theirs. And I think if you started off from a young age that people disagree with you, then it creates, I don't know, a little bit more awareness for when you're older and you actually do have to vote or have opinions on this that matter. So.
well, what do you think of, like, everybody that is voicing their opinions in school? Are they, like, does it feel like they're coming from their parents? Does it feel like they're doing their research, social media? Like, where is it?
Right. I guess it depends. There are some people who only have opinions that come from their parents, but you can tell when people have facts to back things up that they did their research.
So for us, when I think that all the friends that I have on social media from like high school and stuff, I'm now able to see their political beliefs, which wasn't a thing that we were worried about back then. So do you think that your views align with most of your friends?
I think it's about 50-50.
How often do you guys talk about, like, these social issues and political issues?
I think it mainly comes up when it's appropriate. It's not just like every conversation we have,
like
is
when
based
something
on it.
happens, like the shooting or something.
Right. Yeah.
And what is that like? Is it like a lot of tension, or is it just kind of like moral support for each other? Like, how does it work?
For our group of friends, mainly, it's usually a conversation.
Okay.
It doesn't get too heated, which is good.
Personally, what's your like goal when it gets to like being involved in all these political aspects? Like, are you trying to be a politician, or?
Right now, I think my main goal is just supporting people who are different than me, like the Black Lives Matter protest. That didn't apply to me, and I don't think that will help me in any way, but I think it's important to let other people know that there are people who are going to stand for their cause, because I hope that people do the same for me. So.
Can I keep you? You are so adorable. Oh my gosh.
What do you think of when people say things like, you know, your generation is too sensitive, or like this is like a hopeless generation?
I think our generation now is just, the only reason people say we're too sensitive is because we're more aware of like what's going on in like news and politics and stuff. And so when we see something that we don't necessarily agree with, we'll counter it. Yeah. And I think that's not something that was done before, especially for younger generations. So.
You know, it's funny that like when people say that, it's like, who taught these people those things, right? I think we were having a conversation with Khalil Ismail, who was on the podcast, and he was saying like, if you think that these generations of the future are like, you know, dumb or sensitive or this or that, it's like, who raised them? So then at the end of the day, it's like, we're only getting smarter, and we should only support the younger generation. And like, you're sitting over here and like, you just like, you know, are so smart. And
I was not talking about anything like this when I was raised.
Yeah,
like,
seriously, that's
it
what I'm
wasn't
saying.
even a thing.
Yeah.
Which is good, because that's what's good about social media. So like, we always see how negative it can be, but it seems like what you're on Twitter and Instagram mostly, you said?
Yeah.
Like, what type of things do you follow on Twitter?
It's mainly like news and people who are leaders of certain movements. Like, I'll follow like the Women's March and the Black Lives Matter movement in Philadelphia, just to get like certain updates on things that are going on like near me and around the world.
Is that where you get a lot of your news from, is like Twitter?
Mainly, yeah.
Wow,
But I
that's so
also
cool.
I also follow like lots of news sources and pay attention to like a bunch of them.
How do you filter it out? Because like, you know, if amongst fake news and everything on Twitter, how do you verify your sources?
I don't think we really talk about like news a lot in school, but I'm taking a contemporary issues class. So it's kind of taught me to like know when to check my sources and stuff.
What draws you mostly to these social issues and everything? Like why do you feel like you need to voice your opinion or step in and go to these marches?
Because a lot of times I've seen like these issues in my community and with people I know, and if people are seeing that it's a problem and they're not doing anything about it, that kind of makes me angry. So when I go to these marches and stuff, I hope that people will understand that I'm doing it to support other people, and to let them know that I stand with them.
And you stay pretty busy, we know this, but for everybody else, what are you pursuing in school, and what are some things that you have going on the side?
Yeah, so right now I'm part-time in high school and college, so I take...
You're in 11th grade, right?
11th grade, yeah, I'm a junior. So I take college classes for half the day and high school classes for the other half. And I'm also training in Taekwondo right now, so
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Black belt.
I'm a black belt, yeah.
Oh my
Nice.
And I also teach younger children Taekwondo. So,
Nice.
yeah.
So don't let the smile, take you away from the fact that she could kick some butt when needed. We talked about how you're in a mostly conservative area. You were born in New York, right?
Yeah.
So what's that like to come from like a very diverse area to an area where it's predominantly white?
It's obviously very different based on like opinions that people have. Coming from New York, which is such a diverse community, and there's so many people who aren't like you, and there are also so many people who are like you. Going to a predominantly white school where people are conservative, which is obviously very different than me. It's different having to almost filter out a lot of like opinions that I have, because I know that if I say like exactly what I want to say, a lot of people will disagree. But I also think that me going to such a where people are like really similar, I think that's important for a lot of people to see someone who is like a person of color who comes from a Muslim background and a different community than them.
What's the trick of having like a conversation with somebody who's unwilling to listen, or like just doesn't agree with anything that you say? Like, how do you even talk to them?
Right. A lot of those people will have views that aren't necessarily their own. They'll come from like parents or how they grew up. So I think that's important when you have like facts to back up what you say. But you also have to make it personal, like know that they're talking about people and to people, and these people have stories. So.
And at the same time, like, how are you listening to or trying to understand viewpoints that aren't yours? Like, even on social media, are you following people that you don't agree with and seeing what they have to say, like Fox News, for example?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I definitely get that in school. There are a lot of people who have different opinions than me. So I definitely have like the other side of the story, which is why when you kind of form your own opinion and your own views, it kind of solidifies like what you believe in.
What do you do when like you're faced with someone older that doesn't agree with your opinions? Is it like same, like they don't kind of, oh, you're younger,
With like older people, yeah. Sometimes it's been like teachers in school. Like I know one of my teachers is very conservative, and he actually teaches a lot about like politics and stuff. And it's hard when you have someone who's like trying to teach you, but sometimes they can be very like one-sided. So you have to not almost like counter them and get them offended, but kind of tell them about the other side of the story as well.
And do older people tend to speak down to you? Do you feel like you can hear that in their tone, that like, oh, they may speak to you in a way that you don't know what you're talking about? And how do you usually tell them, like, I know my facts?
Yeah, they usually start off a conversation like that, but I hope by the end of the conversation, when we've had like a real one-to-one and they understand that I hopefully know what I'm talking about, they look at me as more than an equal.
You just gotta pull up in the black belt.
Under the coat. Do you follow Trump on Twitter?
No, I don't.
So how do you feel? I know that you didn't have much of a previous, I guess, opinion because we had Obama and he was on Twitter, but not as heavily. But how do you feel about having your president speak very loudly on Twitter?
I mean, that's his right. He can do that. I obviously don't agree with a lot of things that he says and that he believes in, but if that's what he feels, that's what his best, I guess, role as a president is, then.
Would you rather hear it all, or do you wish that he wouldn't be...
Like it was filtered?
Yeah, do you wish it was filtered, or are you glad that he's just putting it all out there?
I mean, I'm glad that he says those things, but I'd also like to hear some of those things on different platforms in social media, to have them in a more conversational setting, maybe, where he talks to people who have different opinions than him, and he talks in a more, I guess, mature setting.
Now, coming from like a sort of like Muslim and brown background, I guess, we were talking earlier about like grown-ups who like you may disagree with. So like I know in our communities a lot there can be a problem with very sort of like our parents or like other people in the communities, these aunties and uncles that like have very, very like strict viewpoints on things. Do you ever feel like there is misdirection in our own communities, and like do you ever say anything to that?
Yeah, definitely. Especially racism a lot I see in our community. Against mainly like Black people.
Okay.
And people will like throw in like negative comments towards them, and I do call them out, or I try to, but it's not always like as impactful as I want it to be, because sometimes they won't take it as seriously, because this is the way that they've always been taught to speak, and they don't really know like that they shouldn't say it.
That's a problem, right? Yeah, that's so important, because like we didn't I think we weren't as conscious about it when we were little, but the fact that you recognize that is I guess gives a lot of hope for the future.
In school, you said how other counties let their kids walk out, and in your school they didn't. Do you wish that instead of worrying about your safety in that way, that they would have formed a way for you guys to be safe outside? Do you wish that they would have worked with you, or do you understand where they're coming from?
I understand that there was a problem with safety, but I also think that they should have supported us a little bit more in like the fact that they were supporting the movement, and the movement was mainly based around having safety in schools and to prevent gun violence in schools. So by saying that it wasn't safe, it was kind of like adding to the problem.
So like this whole gun control thing, right? So I mean, you were obviously at March for Our Lives. Why were you there? Like, what was...
Because a lot of people argue that guns are like a sport, or guns are something that people should have to protect themselves. But I believe that when you have guns, it kind of increases the amount of like violence that could happen. And like even these school shootings, like these were all guns that were bought legally, and they were used in such violent ways, and so many people were hurt. So you have to kind of understand that when you have these guns, they can be used in an incorrect way.
But what about the whole thing where it's like if somebody wants to do something evil, they'll find a way to do it? Have you heard that argument?
Right. Yeah. So I think like in the Parkland shooting, for example, like 17 children were killed, and a gun was used. And I don't think that if a gun was taken out of the equation, I don't think that many lives could have been taken. Like if they would have used a knife, for example.
Do you think that there should be more gun control in the sense that there should be easier access to the guns, or do you think that
none at all?
There should be none?
I think guns should be allowed in a control setting, like shooting ranges, for example. Like if people want to use them for sport, they can go to these places and use them, but they shouldn't be taken out or kept in homes.
And then the women's right. Do you see the perspective where like there's people that say that, there are feminists that are anti-man, and then there's like the feminists that just believe in equality?
Yeah, I think the word feminist has kind of become a negative term at this point, and people see it as like people who are against men, they hate every man or whatever. But I think it's more of like wanting to be equal than wanting to be like higher than someone else. And I think a lot of my opinions on that movement come from like religion, because I believe that Islam is a very like feminist religion. And so I kind of use that on my views on feminism.
How?
like in Islam, we're taught that like a woman's body is her choice, and what she chooses to cover it with and what she chooses to do with it is her choice. And also the fact that women should have the same or equal rights as men. Like, for example, in Islam, women are allowed to own land. And that's not something that's spoken about in a lot of other religions.
Sometimes they'll pinpoint oppression onto Muslims. Like, well, how do you usually counteract that argument, especially with maybe people who are your age that are conservative?
Yeah. A lot of people who speak about like oppression in Islam don't really know that much about Islam, so I kind of try and educate them as I have a conversation with them and teach them that the things that you see on the news and the things that you see coming out of like politicians' mouths aren't always true.
Do you ever get asked like, how come you don't wear a hijab or anything like that? And like, what do you say? How do you react to that?
I don't really so much get asked as why I don't wear a hijab. Okay. It's more of why other people do wear hijabs. Okay. But I think other people do wear hijabs because it's their choice, and that's how they choose to express their religious beliefs.
I wear a black belt. You want to see that? I mean, obviously, like anybody that's listening to this, understand that Maryam is 16 years old, and I think we were just kind of like picking your brain and see like where you're at, but like you have so much growing to do and everything like that. But the fact that you're at this place is like so incredible that you can understand like
so
both perspectives.
So
that's awesome.
Generally, though, as like a high school student, what do you like to do?
I don't have a lot of time, but I do like to read a lot, and I like to write. I also like to be outside a lot, so I like to run and stuff.
What are you trying to be, I guess, when you're like older?
So right now, as I'm in high school, I'm also taking college classes, so I'm working on my associate's degree at the same time. So my plan is to get my associate's degree as I get my high school degree, and then finish up and get my bachelor's degree, and then hopefully go to law school. So that's my goal.
Nice.
So how do you plan to use like law into the things that you're passionate about? Like, what do you think that's going to do for you?
Yeah, so I'm a big like believer in like just government and law and how it works. But I also believe that there's a lot of room for law to grow. And there's always room for it to change as the times go along.
So do you want to be a lawyer, or do you want to work as like in government?
I think I can hopefully do both at the same time, but maybe one day go into politics.
You know, we hear a lot from especially younger generations like, oh, the government is corrupt, like forget that. But like you're diving right into it. So like, is that something that you would be want to do like in leadership roles?
Yeah, especially being like women of color and a Muslim, I think we don't have a lot of representation for those types of roles in our government and in this country. So I think that'd be super important for younger children to see. You know,
as a Muslim, like a lot of times we are blind to the fact that, you know, when we get caught up in like conservative versus liberals, we forget that even somebody like Obama has gone over to like Islamic countries and done a lot of damage with drones and things like that. Is that something that you're aware of, and like what are your feelings about that? I think with every president you're going to have things that you agree with and you disagree with, and there were obviously some things that I definitely agree with that Obama did, but I think there wasn't enough at that time. I think there wasn't enough like awareness of what was going on during that presidency. Which I think is different now, which is good, because people are more aware of what Donald Trump is doing. I didn't even know like anything about the previous presidents. Or who's the president? Yeah, it'd just be like, oh, George Bush, like he's a bad man. Like that. Like that's what I think that's because like previous presidents were constantly trying to make it seem like America's okay and that they're like working on it. Like Obama never made you feel like we were in chaos. He never made you feel like America was like going down, whereas Trump will kind of say things like that. But that can be scarier though. That exactly. Yeah. So I think in a way that while we have Trump, you know, more vocal about it and stuff, we just didn't know a lot. In a way, they were kind of keeping us safe by us not panicking, but that also kept us ignorant. It's also the fact that like now, like Maryam can go on the internet and like see all of Obama's receipts. Like we didn't have receipts to the past presidents. We didn't know what was going on. All we know is like how older people were feeling at the time, and it depends who you talk to about what was going on. But she can like literally like do all her research. You can like find like the next generation can go and look through Donald Trump's tweets.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that people your age have more of your own opinion than we were able to do because we had such limited resources to be able to verify and stuff. So a lot of our opinions were influenced by parents and people who are around us and things that we heard, and I guess just the people that we affiliated with, whereas you guys can go ahead and do all the research that you want and choose what you want to believe.
Well, also it's like with social media, it seems that even people that don't necessarily have a viewpoint feel like they have to put in an opinion. And so especially in your role and like, you know, since you're so active and everything like that, do you feel like sometimes that like you don't know everything and like you still have to make a statement just because everybody else is, or like?
I don't make a statement unless I'm like really educated about something.
Okay.
And I feel that a lot of people don't really take that as much seriously. But what I try and do is I don't form an opinion unless I know like most of what's going on about it.
Do you post it on social media? Like will you say your opinions on social media? Like will you tweet about something or?
Not really.
Okay.
Most of my like beliefs will just be like voiced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you worried about like future jobs or anything, like when they interview you or anything, like them going through your social media? Is that still a thing?
Well, I hope that like in future jobs and even like colleges that I'm applying to will hopefully like have the same views as me or be okay with the fact that I'm voicing my opinions.
That's
yeah.
good, yeah. We were like our teachers would be like,
Constantly
oh, don't
hush.
put anything on Facebook or like
Mm-hmm.
Instagram or Twitter because nobody's gonna hire you.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but that was the real thing. Like people would get fired because you know they'd go for.
You had political beliefs. But like now, that's like the standard. Everybody
has an opinion.
Can I just say that like you literally wowed me with like so much. Like every time you speak with so much insight, and that's
you.
just, I love it.
She's just like so articulate and like
Yeah.
knows what she's doing. What do you want people to know, like as your final thought?
I think in a time of a lot of like political like disagreement and a lot of people are against what people are saying just because of their like views, I think it's important that people continue to voice them regardless, because that's how we can see change happen in our government and politics.
She came prepared. She came prepared. And then we have one last super important question that we ask at the end of every single podcast.
Okay.
All right, Shamir.
If you could describe yourself in any flavor, what flavor would it be and why?
Okay. I would go with mint chocolate chip.
Ooh.
Cha.
Yeah, number one, it's my favorite like ever, and two, because I think it has like some sweet and some like fresh, so it's a little bit of both. So.
Sweet and fresh.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I'm gonna take that because you are very sweet and very fresh. with the high waisted pants. And no, but no, seriously, Maryam, like you're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't ever stop and flaunt that black belt. Like literally. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Everybody listening, this has been another week, another flavor, a little less stranger. We'll talk to you next time.